Away from that, today marks 60 years since the fateful day in Dallas in 1963 when U.S. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Despite having one of the shortest tenures of any U.S. president, President Kennedy, along with his wife Jacqueline, forever changed the office of the U.S. presidency. The Kennedy administration challenged post-war America to rise to the challenge of new opportunities and innovation. At his inauguration in January 1961, President Kennedy declared, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." End quote. Well, President Kennedy followed that month later in a speech before a joint session of Congress by setting the goal of landing a man on the moon within a decade. It was the height of the Cold War with the Soviet Union, and President Kennedy used all of the tools at his disposal to emphasize the power and persuasion of the U.S. in diplomatic trips around the world. President Kennedy also guided the country through the threat of nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis in the autumn of 1962. However, it was President Kennedy's shocking death that forever stamped his life and legacy onto the world's memory. Well, the following report takes a look at the events surrounding JFK's assassination.
In November 1963, 46-year-old John Kennedy arrived in Texas for a two-day, five-city trip to help raise campaign funds for his re-election the following year. After starting his second day in Texas at nearby Fort Worth, President Kennedy and his wife flew to Dallas, where they met the Vice President and Texas Governor John Connally and their spouses. Shortly before noon, the presidential motorcade with President Kennedy and Governor Connally in the second vehicle left the airfield to drive through the downtown area of the city to the Dallas Business and Trade Mart for a speech and luncheon. The cars moved along streets lined with cheering crowds at around 12:30 p.m. local time. Moments later, shots rang out and both President Kennedy and Governor Connally were struck by bullets. President Kennedy was hit in the neck and head, while Governor Connally suffered a wound to the chest. The limousine sped away under escort to nearby Parkland Memorial Hospital, where little could be done for the mortally wounded United States president. President Kennedy's body was returned to Air Force One, where before takeoff, Vice President Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States.
A ring from her finger and placed it in his hand. There was a husband who asked much and gave much.
On Sunday, November 24, in a solemn procession, President Kennedy's casket was taken by horse-drawn caisson to the Capitol building, where it lay in state at Rotunda. An estimated 250,000 people filed past to pay their respects. The official funeral was held on Monday, November 25, as heads of state and dignitaries from more than 100 countries attended the formal ceremony at St. Matthew's Cathedral. Back in Dallas, police arrested Lee Harvey Oswald, a recently hired employee of the Texas Book Depository and a former U.S. Marine. On Sunday, November 24, when police was transferring Oswald from police headquarters to the county jail, Dallas nightclub owner Jack Ruby shot him at point-blank range on live television, and Oswald died 2 hours later. President Johnson appointed a commission on the assassination of President Kennedy to be chaired by Earl Warren, Chief Justice of the United States, to investigate the assassination and subsequent killing of the alleged assassin. The Warren Commission concluded that Oswald acted alone when he fired the 3 rifle shots that killed President Kennedy and wounded Governor Connally. It also concluded that Ruby acted alone when he shot Oswald 2 days later. Despite abundant conspiracy theories and studies that challenge these results, the findings, though controversial, remain the official government position on President Kennedy's death.